Alright everybody, hello and welcome. You are watching TSSZ Plus, and this is TSSZ Plays the Sonic Advance Trilogy Recap. I'm Lou, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We got a good one for you today. We are finally taking a look at the Sonic Advance Trilogy in its entirety, sending this series of long plays off the right way, and getting where we need to go with what's going on for the future of TSSZ Plus and Plays. We have a ton of interesting stuff coming up, including a full breakdown of the full Sonic Advance Trilogy, and some really big announcements that we've had queued up for a while now and are ready to unleash into the world regarding the future of Plus, Plays, and some other interesting stuff that you may not be expecting. You probably aren't. So let's get started. Where are we? Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Good old Sonic Advance 1, the one that started it all. What was that, 2001, 2002, on the Game Boy Advance. We're going to poke around in each of these games one more time while we talk about them, talk about some of the pros, talk about some of the cons, sort of discuss what we like and what we don't about each of the three games. And we'll try to figure out, maybe we'll crown a victor by the end of it. Which one wins? So, this is going to be very participatory, so I want to hear all of your thoughts on each of the games as we go through. If you have a particular attachment to one over the rest of them, let me know why. If you disagree with points we're making, let me know why. And we're going to go through the entire thing. Of course, starting with Sonic Advance 1. So, as I think has been discussed when we first played this game, I consider Advance 1 to be the weakest of the Advance games. A impressive first effort, don't get me wrong, for the Sonic franchise making the jump to a different manufacturer's hardware. You know, Sonic was, I mean, still is Sega's baby, but was exclusive to Sega's own hardware pretty much all the way through its life from 1991. So once 2001, 2002 rolled around and Sega got out of the home console business, you know, obviously Sonic needed somewhere else to go. And right around that time, we saw Sonic Advance pop up. We saw Sonic Adventure 2 Battle come out on the GameCube not too long after that decision was made. And Sonic was given new life on these consoles. To great effect, I think. The Advance Trilogy, obviously a beloved trilogy of games that, unfortunately, probably won't see the light of day in any sort of virtual console capacity, at least not anytime soon. And certainly not in the US or Europe or anywhere like that. Perfect. So, let's get into it a little more. Why do I feel that Sonic Advance 1 is sort of the worst of the three? What is this here? Well, those are good questions. So let's first maybe talk about what Advance 1 does right, and it really nails the basic feel of a Sonic platformer on another console. This would have been super easy to screw up. This would have been really easy to get wrong and feel really bad to play. But fortunately, that's not the case. And Advance 1, the mechanics are solid. It's a pretty fluid platformer for what it is. It's not particularly long or creative, but the mechanics are solid and it lays a great foundation for the trilogy to come. Everything feels relatively good. There's no obvious control issues at play, but there are, in my opinion, a ton of little weird quirky things that really hamper the overall experience a little bit. So mechanics are solid, but a lot of the weird quirks in the controls and some odd level design tidbits sort of drag it down. I think the level design as a whole is relatively interesting and pretty solid, in that you know, there's opportunities for exploration, there's chances for you to check out little nooks and crannies, and it's not entirely focused on just blinding speed, which some players do prefer in their Sonic games. You know, not everything has to be Sonic Unleashed. obviously a direction Sonic Advance 2 would take for its entry. So Advance 1, probably a little more methodical in how it presents the Sonic experience. It's almost a little more akin to the difference between something like Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, or Sonic 1 and Sonic 3, where Sonic 1 is a little more methodical and not as blindingly fast. I think the same can be said of Advance 1 compared to Advance 2 or 3. Again, if you have thoughts as the viewers here, feel free to jump in at any time and call me a moron or not. You know, we've had plenty of that over the years, I'm sure. So the things that I particularly don't like about Advance 1, it's kind of short. You know, it follows that 2-act structure that most people seem to prefer in Sonic games. But it's pretty short, you know, six zones, 2 acts apiece. Add in your special stages, and you have the meat of your game there. So not a super meaty experience. Maybe that works for more handheld, on-the-go play sessions. It's hard to say for sure. And I also just kind of don't find... Now, this is getting a little more sort of presentation-wise, but I don't find the level themes and the designs to really be all that inspired. You know, I understand that it's the first game on a new system, and we're just handing the reins over to, you know, non-SEGA hardware to house these games, so maybe you can't expect the sun, the moon, and the stars on your first go. But I don't know, I just find the environments and the presentation to be a little bit lackluster compared, especially to other entries in the Advanced Trilogy and beyond. You know, sort of a similar problem I have with Sonic Rush. I also find the music to be the worst of the 3. Not that it's bad, and I don't think the soundtrack is bad. I just sort of find it sort of mediocre, especially when compared to the other 2 games, which have much better soundtracks. The music actually only gets better as that trilogy goes on, which is always good. So that, I think, primarily sums up the Sonic Advance 1 experience. It's good, but it's not great. You know, there's little nitpicks in the mechanics that really sort of hold it back. There's some frustrations in the bosses later in the game. It doesn't move heaven and earth graphically or music-wise, but the core mechanics are solid, and there's a solid game at its core, which is good. Some of those nitpicks I was just thinking of, for example, I've always thought Sonic was a little constrained in Advance 1. Like, I always wanted to jump just a little bit farther or go just a little bit faster from a standstill than he does, which is always a little frustrating when you just can't quite make that jump, or you're trying to just get that little bit of extra speed to get, you know, things moving just a little bit quicker, and it's just not happening. But it happens. So I think we'll, unless anyone has other thoughts that I might have missed, I think we'll head on over to Advance 2 after this one and start getting into some of its bugbears, some of its positives, and we'll compare it to Advance 1, which I think would be fair. We are quiet tonight, and this is a big night on plays. I'm surprised we're also quiet. Let's do that. So, I also... Oh, God, that was pretty good. Yeah, that takes skill to mess it up that bad. I promise you that. So, I know this stream was originally scheduled for last week, but... I've had an interesting few days recently. I ended up with about a 70-75 hour work week last week due to, like, the corporate world exploding over the pandemic world, or the pandemic lifestyle we all suddenly find ourselves facing. And that was a significant time sink, and it's been pretty stressful to adapt to the new way that everything has to sort of go now, and I'll admit that's been taxing on me. So it was important for me to just sort of take some time to figure that out for myself. It just the stars just did not align for me to do a stream last week, but I appreciate everyone's understanding, hopefully, and here we are now. So again, Advance 1, I think, can really be summed up as a solid start to the Advance Trilogy with just enough bugbears and nitpicks in there to dampen the overall experience. If we had to rate things, we'll put it on our scale, that would be 3.5 stars out of 5. I think a 7 out of 10 is pretty fair for Advance 1. Let's go ahead and get Advance 2 loaded up. That is Advance 1 again. That is Advance 2. And we were in the middle of something, I guess, last time we looked at this. Sonic Advance 2! So, released in 2003. This really turned everything on its head and just made it speed, speed, speed from the word go. It is structured as a race to the finish. You can see you're starting off the block here, and the end is sort of a finish line, and you have to stop yourself as fast as you can. Lots of great additions to Sonic's moveset to help make the experience more fluid and more fun. I think the Insta-Shield is back. I don't recall that being in Advance 1, and I don't think the trick system's really in Advance 1 either. So that's a big advancement. You don't have to land directly on springs to use them now, which is a great improvement. You can just run right into monitors like that, and they just open for you, which is great. It's all about keeping the flow going and keeping you in the action in Advance 2, which I really appreciate. Quote-unquote boost mode is here, a sort of predecessor to what we see in modern Sonic, with this awesome afterimage effect that I've always loved. It just really emphasizes the speed more than anything else. And that's really the key takeaway in Advance 2. It is just all speed, all the time, and you better be ready, because that's what you're getting. I mean, look at that. Now, that comes with its own pros and its own cons. I just realized we didn't talk about the special stages. Advance 1, I believe, had the worst special stages of the 3. Weird perspective, difficult to control, not easy, and not ideal. We'll talk about Advance 2. But there's pros and cons to the all-speed approach, as I'm sure you know. There's obviously, if you like to go fast, this is the game for you. It is all about speed, and it generally sort of comes at the expense of exploring and taking your time to really absorb your environment. You end up just going and going no matter what. So I think to that end, Advance 2 really plays into the hold right to win element of the franchise that critics tend to disparage the most. You know, people who really come after these kinds of games criticize them as essentially just being hold right to win, and I am literally just holding right now. You know, especially in these early stages, very little interaction required to just barrel through the stages, and that's, you know, sort of a byproduct of how it has chosen to structure its stage design. Again, still just holding right here. You can, you know, there are stretches where you can hold it for 10, 15, 20 seconds at a time and nothing of consequence will happen. Just saw it there. So it goes. So some people will prefer that sort of more relaxed, not as in-your-face approach to the level design. Some want a little more challenge and interactivity out of it, so that generally depends on your perspective. I generally see it as mostly a positive thing, but that's ultimately for you to judge. Now, talking about the bosses, the bosses in Advance 1 are generally fine, maybe a little uninspired, but functional and relatively fair for the most part. I think Cosmic Angel's boss might be particularly difficult and unfair. Advance 2's bosses are easily the worst of the 3. The constantly running gimmick does play into Advance 2's overall design of just speed at all costs and keeping yourself in motion at all costs, but it also sacrifices a lot of the control that you have over it because you're so limited in terms of of what you can do. Stopping on a dime and avoiding attacks is difficult. Sky Canyon's boss can eat me, and a lot of times it's just you don't feel as in control as maybe you want to, because indeed you're not in control as much as I think you want to be. So that's definitely a problem with Advance 2. And it makes it sort of tough for me to grade in that regard, because while I think the level design and the controls and the mechanics and the special stages are all better in Advance 2, the boss fights are frustrating enough where I think the game really does take a step back in that regard. So it is almost like 1+ steps forward, 1-ish step back. Like it's overall I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's a minor step partially because of how lackluster and frustrating the boss fights are. What do you think? Anybody out there? Give me some opinions here. Special stages, I think we showed when we did Advance 2. I think an improvement, again, probably not ideal, a little difficult to control. That's where you're on the flat 3D plane, sort of reminiscent of like Sonic CDs. And you have a robot chasing you around as you try to collect X number of rings. I think it's an interesting mechanic and an improvement over Advance 1's. You can string together those ring combos to get multipliers as you collect rings quickly and in sequence, which I thought was really interesting and encourages you to sort of really get the lay of the land quickly and string together combos understanding where all the rings are in sequence. So it's really fun to have that element of it. They are difficult, don't get me wrong. At least the later ones are, as I remember. But I think an improvement compared to Advance 1's, certainly. So again, it's sort of Advance 2, I think largely depends on your perspective. Some people, again, really enjoy that gotta go fast, speed above everything else mentality. Some want their Sonic games and their levels to have a little more meat, which is understandable. So they're not super on board with just going fast and the sort of hold right to win element of it. And that's always up for debate. I know there are a lot of you out there who disagree with me on Advance 1 and believe that that is the best of the three. But I don't hear from a lot of you right now, so this is your chance to defend the game, guys. Don't blow it. Don't let it pass you by. If you really feel passionately about this is your moment. We should probably also talk about the music, right? Music and presentation. I think the presentation of Advance 2 is a nice step forward. I think the environments as a whole are a little flashier, a little more interesting. The level themes and the gimmicks are pretty good. Again, not exactly lighting the world on fire, but that's okay. I think the music is a big step forward compared to Advance 1's, especially when you think about its, what I consider god-awful remixes of the old tunes from Sonic 1 and 2. So, definitely a step forward in that regard. And you know, visually and audio-wise, my vote goes for Advance 2 over Advance 1. And I've also been struggling with my classic sinuses coming back and biting me. So that's sort of been limiting how good I've been feeling. Which now, as I'm sure you know, is not a good time to be feeling crappy, but that's where we're at. So I don't know that we have any other thoughts on Advance 2 here. We are going a lot faster than I thought we were gonna. Such is the way it goes. I took the focus off the game screen, so it'll get quiet when I do that. I know that. I should know that. And there we go. So, we'll get through Music Plant, and then it's on to Advance 3, the new baby. Just wrapped that up a couple weeks ago. There's the number. We have somebody. We're alive out there. That's good. Can't quite get over that. So I think the Music Plant, one of the more defining stages in Advance 2. You know, it's just a really fun theme, and they really do love the mechanics. It's really cool. Now, I know there's also the element that I've totally skipped over in this playthrough, which is the Tiny Chow Garden. Not in Advance 3, so I know that's a detriment to it, but it's in Advance 1 and Advance 2. I know a lot of people have had a lot of fun with that over the years. I never got super into it myself, but I know a lot of you out there did, and we definitely give Advance 1 and Advance 2 props for that feature, because it's... I know it was sort of a defining thing for a lot of people to take their chow on the go, and I believe even those might have synced up with, like, Adventure 2 Battle or something, right? You could bring your chow in and out of those games and take your chow on the road and raise them and put them back in the game or something like that. Which was just super cool, right? So I can't even remember Tamagotchis. It sort of reminds me of Tamagotchis or something. Ugh, those guys are everywhere. And we are out of there. So there's Advance 2. I really struggled with the score on this one because it does just do... It does a lot more right than Advance 1, but it also does take steps back in a couple key areas, and depending on your preference for these kinds of games, you know, it just really may not have taken the right steps according to you. Our grading scale on the site goes in half stars, 1 to 5. So if I had to give Advance 2 a rating just on that, I would probably have to give it, if I'm feeling generous, I'd give it a 4 out of 5, because I do think it is better than Advance 1. If I had more freedom in the scale, I would probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10, but that's not an option, so I'll round up to an 8 because I'm being nice. And there is Advance 2. Let's move on to Advance 3. Now, I have repeatedly shown my love for Advance 3 throughout the stream and throughout the Trilogy playthrough. Back to classic Sonic and Tails here. Maybe play through the first 3 zones of stages, I'm not really sure. So Advance 3, I think, does the best job of providing a really full-fledged Sonic experience on the go. It's got the hub world, it's got 3 acts per zone, which, you know, I know is generally not the preferred way for these kinds of games to go, but it does add more meat to the game, there's no question. A lot of those acts are very beefy, and the game has a lot more content in it as a result. I think the mechanics are a lot more fluid. Sonic ramps up to speed a lot faster, and he sort of moves in the air, jumping from a standstill a lot more smoothly. Some have complained about this. They say that it's too fluid and that it's difficult to land jumps. I've never had that kind of problem, but I can understand if others feel differently. Obviously, the biggest thing in Advance 3 is the tag system and the partner mechanic. I think it's only a positive thing. It's probably the best version of a team-up mechanic that a Sonic game has ever had. It adds so much... It's such a dynamic addition to the game in terms of the choices it offers, in terms of variety. So you can, depending on your playstyle, you can barrel through it, you know, as fast as humanly possible with a speedy build. You can be more methodical, go in with a slower paced team that is more built for power or built for flight. So you can explore and sort of really milk the stages for all they're worth if that's what you're into. It is entirely dependent on your own playstyle and how you prefer to approach your Sonic game, which I think is brilliant. The levels are very well tailored for that. There's a lot of hidden secrets, there's a lot of exploring you can do with flight and power teams, and there's so much room for expression in there that I think by far Sonic Advance 3 has the most to offer in that regard. I love that outside loop. I don't know why games don't do that more. Sonic games, I mean. It's so fun. Aesthetically, Advance 3 is obviously the best of the bunch. The most detailed sprite work, the most advanced graphical techniques, the best sprite work, the most animation. I think the best art style overall. The zone themes are great. The presentation is fantastic. There's very little that Advance 3 does wrong presentation-wise. We'll get into the music, of course. Best soundtrack of the trilogy, hands down. Fight me, I don't care what you say about the other two, I will fight you on that one. And I actually, as I've said repeatedly, put Sonic Advance 3 up there among the very best soundtracks that the franchise has to offer. I know that some people sort of poo-poo it a little bit because it takes some cues from Sonic Battle. The story of which, or the story in Advance 3, speaking of, is pretty closely tied into Sonic Battle, which I consider a positive thing, and using cues from Advance 3... yes, Lenovo sees that too. I think the continuity between the two games is really impressive, and I wish more games did that. You know, there's stuff like Eggman's theme being carried over from like 06 into Unleashed or Colors or whatever. That's a good example. I like the musical continuity, and especially in Advance 3 where plot elements are carried through from battle, it only makes sense to do that. I think it's most prevalent in something like Non-Aggression, the extra boss with Gemro going nuts. I think that harkens exactly back to some cues from battle. There are others sprinkled throughout, I think, as well. We did have some comments on Twitter. They were like, oh, are you ignoring Sonic Battle? Unfortunately, that's one I would have liked to play. As part of this, I didn't think of that. Because I'm dumb, but that would have been fun, for sure. Now that we're behind this thing, let's just do that. There you go, perfect example of the tag system there. Just doing its magic. So the additional length of the game, I appreciate. The 3-act structure does give it a little more weight on the go, so there's a little more to explore. There's very few clunkers aside from like Chaos Angel Act 3, which is just that auto-scrolling floating platform kind of stage, which is pretty lame. But other than that, it's really good stuff. So what else? Again, the tag mechanic is really, really useful. It opens up so much in terms of exploration. It's great. Special stages here, I think, are the best of the three as well. The collecting the keys is sort of lame with hunting down the chows and finding special keys to access the special stage via spring. But it just seems like they couldn't put that entire special stage mechanic from start to finish in place successfully in any of the Advanced Trilogy. I don't know why. Advanced 3 special stages, again, probably the best of the bunch. You have the tornado stages. Fun, interesting, relatively difficult, but a reasonable amount of challenging, I think. Oh my god, what? I'm just gonna cheese it. Get over here, Tails. That's the other thing, too. Why are so many of these cropping up? You can use the tag system to your great advantage once you get familiar with the levels and you are able to sort of understand where Tails would be best versus where Sonic's best versus where, like, Knuckles is best or Cream. Cream, obviously amazing at cheesing the boss fight, sort of serving as an easy mode for the game. which younger or less experienced players will no doubt appreciate. It covers its bases really well in terms of its mechanics, and I appreciate that a lot. We'll get into the music a little bit. The soundtrack in this game is phenomenal. There's a lot of old standbys from Sonic Team in this era that worked on Advance 3's soundtrack. I don't believe, or I can't recall if Sonic Team's actual composers were involved with Advance 1 or 2, but they were in Advance 3, and I'm willing to bet that's why it's so much better than the other two. Not that Advance 2's soundtrack is bad, but Advance 3's is definitely top tier, and again, I'll say it as often as I can, one of the best in the series. The instrumentation is just so much better compared to the first two. I think it sounds exceptionally good for a Game Boy Advance title. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So let's go 1 or 2 acts in Sunset Hill, maybe. And then we'll wrap up final thoughts on the Advanced Trilogy, and then we have some special announcements to get to that I know all, like, 2 of you out there watching are probably looking forward to. So you're going to hear it here first before we announce it to the rest of the world, probably tomorrow, so take that for what it's worth. Oh, did you not know? Oh, there's so many special announcements here. Some I guarantee you won't see coming. We have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I just really do wish we had more people on for this episode, because those are going to be big announcements, and I know we're going to want to talk about them. So, we'll play a couple more stages here, just to come up with any last-minute thoughts on Advance 3. I love this remix, first of all. Sort of before the Green Hill nostalgia pandering was everywhere. Just so calming. It's the chords in the background that really sell it, I think. I don't know if they're the exact same ones as in the normal Green Hill theme, but it sounds so good. And it looks fantastic, too, you know. Sunset stages in general are hard to mess up, but of course, Sunset Hill just knocks it out of the park. So does everyone have a particular favorite stage in the Advanced Trilogy? Maybe through 1, 2, and 3. I can sort of tell you... That's a tough one in Advanced 3 because I love them all so much. I think Ice Mountain is probably my favorite in Advance 1. That or maybe Secret Base. I really like... Let me think, in Advance 2, I'm partial to Egg Utopia. That's a really fun final zone to run through. And, I mean, Advance 3, I'd vote for them all if I could, except for maybe Toy Kingdom. Chaos Angel is probably my favorite here, but, I mean, I'm really partial to Sunset Hill. I'm really partial to Route 99. Twinkle Snow is great. I mean, it's so cool. Music Plant from Advance 2, that's fair. Music Plant is great. I would also give shoutouts to Hot Crater from Advance 2, as well as Ice Paradise, fantastic music. Sky Canyon, fantastic music. Though Sky Canyon, with all of its death traps, can be kind of annoying, so I'm not sure that it gets all that loud a shout-out. Newcomers, I think, really struggle with Sky Canyon. When, I mean, like, newcomers never having played Advance 2. I remember that's where I got stuck the most when I was younger. And, again, that boss can eat me. Just saying. Ooh. Get me up there. There we go. But Nobor's final thoughts on the Advanced Trilogy. Pretty enjoyable titles that they would want to have the port make treatment. Similar to Sonic 1 and 2 more mobile. That would be awesome. And now there's our Dimps magic. Fun bottomless pits where you don't expect it. So as you may know, the Advanced Trilogy has sort of languished in sort of obscurity compared to other games in the series. Primarily, I think, due to its publishing rights sort of being all over the place. So you may not know, but all of the Advance games, I think, were published by SEGA in Japan on the Game Boy Advance. THQ in North America, and I believe Infogrames in Europe. So those rights are all over the place. You may know that the Advanced Trilogy was re-released on, I believe, the Wii Virtual Console. I don't really want to do this right now. But it did not see the light of day on any other Virtual Consoles, I don't think. And I mean, I can double-check that. Let's take a look here. Sonic Advance was originally released, yeah. It is only in Japan on Android, and the Wii U Virtual Console in Japan. So, unfortunately, again, probably because of those publishing rights, that's going to sort of languish there for a while. It would be great if they would get the port make treatment. I would really love that, because these are games that I think a new generation of Sonic fans really should know about and be able to play more easily than they have access to them today. You basically have to either go back to your Game Boy or emulate them to really get your hands on them. And that's unfortunate, because they are great games, all of them, even Advance 1, which I know I'm not crazy about, but Advance 1 is still a really solid game, and in a lot of ways, better than some of Sega's recent offerings. Like, you know, you talk about Sonic 4, I think it's better than Sonic 4, for example. Twinkle Snow. I love the presentation. I love the music. God. Alright, so we'll wrap up with this one, I think, and then we'll... So it's probably going to be another short stream since we're sort of lacking bodies to talk to here. We'll do our announcements, basically, for Yulino, bro, I guess. And we'll be on our merry way. I love how much more flexible rails are in this game. You can get on rails a lot easier. You don't have to just get to the flat portion like in Advance 2. That's a great change that they made. Oh, I love the soundtrack so much. Snowball throwing, guys. Who needs checkpoints? I don't need checkpoints. That's hubris in this game. You never know. You get to, like, Zone 5 or 6, and it's just the Dimps death pits are coming for you. You can almost feel it. I always hated how you would get speed-up shoes like this in areas where you can't immediately just tear it up. Like, I really want speed-up shoes places where they're going to make the most sense. Like, I'm already into a minecart here. And it's almost done already. So it's like, what is the point? Man, that was fast. Alright, well, there's our Advanced Trilogy, folks. Glad you stuck around through the whole thing. Again, so the final verdict on this, again, I consider Advance 3 the best of the trilogy. Its only real demerits are a couple clunky bosses. Can't make too much sense. Don't be so... Thanks, Baloney. Baloney's here. We do have viewers, as it turns out, on this very important episode of TSSZ Plus, everybody. So the only things I would really knock Sonic Advance 3 for are the lack of a Chow Garden, a couple of annoying boss fights, especially the Chaos Angel boss fight, and one or two lackluster zones. That is it. And really expanded multiplayer options in Advance 3 also. I know we didn't really touch on the multiplayer elements of any of these games, but Advance 3 does it with the most panache of any of them. Greatly expanded single-pack and multi-pack offerings, I believe. So that's another merit for it. 4.5 stars out of 5 for Oh, we got folks. Look at this. Maybe there are people here. This is great. Maybe we'll make these announcements yet. I promise that. I can't really see that too directly right now, so that's all right. Anyway, where were we? 4.5 stars out of 5 for Advance 3. That's a 9 out of 10, and I think it deserves it. For all the advancements it makes, for how great the partner system works, for the dramatically better, dramatically improved visuals and music, the really creative art design and theming, the expanded multiplayer options, the best special stage of the 3, the much bigger, more spacious levels, the ability to traverse them in basically any way you want with all these different characters, all really good stuff. So, that's going to do it, I think, for the Advanced Trilogy, which means I'm going to leave that up on screen and give us some background music to talk about the rest of this stuff. So, it's announcement time here on TSSZ Plays. What are we talking about? Ooh, I wonder. So, we have a lot of interesting announcements to talk about concerning the future of Plays, the future of Plus, and a couple personal announcements as well. So, we're going to start with what's coming up next for TSSZ Plays. Our next big playthrough is ready to go. We know what we're playing, and it's going to be a big one. It's a doozy because it is one of the biggest Sonic games out there. It's one of the most beloved Sonic games out there, and it's one of the ones that we haven't actually touched yet. It is... oh, it's so big, folks. TSSZ Plays Sonic Adventure 2. It is happening. We are finally getting to seemingly everyone's most beloved Sonic adventure, out of the two of them anyway, and that's coming up 2 weeks from tonight on April 8th. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings for the time in your zone, and it is absolutely happening. TSSZ Plays a Sonic Adventure 2. It's gonna be a doozy, and we're gonna make sure that one is a huge stream. I know a lot of people are gonna be excited for that, as well you should be. The next one is an interesting announcement. It's gonna come after TSSZ Plays Sonic Adventure 2. It's, sometime off in the distance in, assumedly, May. Maybe later, but more on that as we get closer. It's going to be something a little different for us. It's called Greatest Hits Week. So what Greatest Hits Week is going to be is a 3-episode streaming week here on TSSZ Plus, where it sort of gives us the opportunity to look back and revisit some of the most distinctive and memorable streams that we've had here on Plays over its 3.5 years of existence, something like that. So again, 3 episodes, and we kick it off with episode 1, and it's a double header because we are revisiting both Sonic Colors and Sonic Heroes. Sonic Colors because it's one of my favorite Sonic games and one of my favorite ones to play on stream for all of you, and Sonic Heroes because I think that was probably one of our most distinctive streams. It was a long one, everyone seemed to have fun with it except for me, because I really don't like Heroes, but we're going to play through it one more time here on stream to sort of revisit it and give it another go. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Episode 1 of Greatest Hits Week, again, sometime in like May or June, Sonic Colors and Sonic Heroes. Episode 2 is the return of one of my absolute favorite things we do here on Plays, a very drunken episode of TSSZ Plays Blue Sphere. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get back to the drunken shenanigans. You'll make your own stages, you'll give them to me to play, and we'll have a hell of a time with that, I'm sure. So that'll be great. And then the next one's an interesting one. So episode 3 is not only going to be the finale of Greatest Hits Week, it's actually going to be the series finale of TSSZ Plays. Now, we're not talking like how the final does its series finale, where it's, it comes back in the fall or the spring or whatever for a new season. That is the last episode of Plays. And it's going to be actually exactly where we started, because we're going to go back to the game that we launched Plays with back in 2016. We're going to go back to TSSZ Plays Sonic Unleashed. I love when a plan comes together and things come full circle, so it only makes sense to end where we began. Now, you're probably wondering, well, that's weird. The series finale of Plays, that sounds so severe. What's going on? What is this? Well, that's where the rest of the announcements come in for the evening, and there's a couple personal announcements for me to get through here that you're going to hear about here first. So, The reason that TSSZ Plays is going away is because I'm going away. Like, relatively soon I'll be leaving TSSZ. Now, that probably comes out of nowhere. I'm sure a lot of you weren't expecting that, but it's gonna happen. Again, probably around like the May-June time frame. I'm not like disappearing tomorrow or anything, but I'll get into it a little more maybe after I wrap up these announcements here. But it feels like it's about time. I've been with TSSZ for almost 9 years now. It will be 9 years by the time I leave, probably. And life changes a lot in that time, if you can believe it. I'm coming up on 28 years old. I'll be 28 in the summer. And I'm just in a very different place from where I started with this site all those years ago. It's pretty nuts. Again, I'll get into it and why that's happening, but let me finish. So, the other sort of unfortunate announcement that comes with this is not only is sort of Plays going away as a result of my leaving relatively soon, but plan for TSSZ Plus as a whole to get shut down by the end of the year. That is really unfortunate for me to say. I'm getting really sad talking about this stuff. I am. It's not fun. It's for two reasons. Number one, once I'm gone and Plays is gone, the final will really be our only consistent content up here on the site, on TSSZ Plus, and that's not enough to sustain it. So we just don't have the content pool for you to enjoy, or we won't once Plays goes off the air. So it's looking like it's probably just going to be phased out maybe sometime over the summer or toward the end of the year. We're not really sure yet. The other reason is we have a whole bunch of really talented and well-established voices in the Sonic community who stream much more actively than I ever could, given my life situation. And they already have their established voices, they have their audiences, and we don't want to compete with them anymore. We don't want to pull attention away from what they do. And in fairness, they've generally had their audiences established a lot more than we have. Compared to something like Tails' channel or the Sonic Stadium, we are a drop in the bucket. Look at the follower counts on Twitter, look at the Twitch numbers. We are a fraction of the traffic they drive. But my stance, I can also value quality over quantity, not that they don't produce quality content, but we've always had a really dedicated base of viewers here on TSSZ Plus. A lot of the names showing up in the chat tonight are ones that were there from the very beginning, from stream number one. And that has meant the world to me. I'm getting sad, guys. I'm really getting sad. That has meant the world to me in the 3.5 years that we've been doing this. Just to have that core group of folks to enjoy all these games with and to go live with and talk to and just to sort of have fun together online and on the stream. It's been a joy, and I've always valued, if given the choice between 100 people who don't engage and 10 people who do, I'm going to take the 10 every time. So I am eternally grateful for that. So that's really the thing. We have to iron out the kinks on this, but we're going to try to transition the final elsewhere in the community to get that content somewhere else, and then once I'm out the door, TSSZ Plus will probably phase out again by the end of the year. Nothing more specific than that. And so it goes, I suppose. So maybe let me talk a little bit more about... Do I want to put the game back up? I don't know, you're just like staring at my face. We had some comments here. I'm gonna miss you guys too. Blue Blur, I only just began getting involved with the live streams and getting to know you a little better. I wish it had not taken so long. That's okay. As long as you made it, that's the whole point. So, let me explain my own thought on it a little more while I'm here. Sentiment is felt. Oh, yeah. It's just... it was a really tough call to make. I had actually been thinking about this for the better part of a few months now. Like, I really started thinking about leaving around, like, I don't know, late last year, that I had really, really considered it. I've been talking with Tristan behind the scenes about this for about the past month, and we're actually prepped to announce it in conjunction with the big South by Southwest panel, which got canceled because the whole world has gone insane now, and everything's sort of been in flux. So to sort of give you that perspective, I was going to sort of have my last hurrah with TSSZ beat E3, because we did get accepted, I was credentialed as media, and now the world has deemed that not to be. So it goes. It's all kind of happy music for announcing sad things, but that's okay. So now, my plan is maybe, if all goes well, to have my last hurrah for TSSZ here be Sonic Revolution out in California in June, if that still happens. Again, we have no idea what's going on. And it's not like, again, I'm not running away tomorrow, and I'm almost also not disengaging entirely, because the plan is for me to stay on board in a sort of special correspondence role, so you may see stuff from me from events like PAX or Comic-Con or fan events or things like that, but there just won't be the sort of more constant presence that I've had before, like with Here on Plus or doing Fan Fridays or things like that, special event coverage, whatever. Though I may still join for special event coverage. I'm not sure. So, what really motivated the decision was two things. At the time, when I was really letting T know that this was going to happen, I was just sort of all over the place. I've had a really inconsistent schedule myself, thanks to the ever-growing demands of my career. I am rapidly climbing the corporate ladder where I am, and that's resulted in a lot of my time being spent there. It's resulted in me working very suddenly for a very long time at a moment's notice, and it's resulted in a lot of streams canceled over the past year or two, to the point where the schedule on TSSZ Plus has gotten incredibly inconsistent, and I have no doubt that that's why viewership has dropped. I know viewership has dropped considerably since, over the past 9 or 12 months, and I know that's because I haven't been able to commit to a schedule of streaming, once or twice a week. And I fully accept that, but it's also not something I can easily change because of the demands on me. So that's how it goes. Adulthood, folks. What are you going to do? So originally, part of it was I just don't have the consistent time like I wanted. But now that I've been sitting at home for basically 24 hours a day for weeks with all this COVID-19 business, I have had all the time in the world to get on the PC and stream things. And I still really sort of find myself struggling to do it. At least with the Sonic business. I had to come to a hard realization after the fact and sort of realize I'm not as passionate about the stuff as I used to be. And that's a really sad admission to make, but it's true. I just can't drum up the enthusiasm for the things that we do here and creating our content like I could even a year or two ago. And I think that's shown in what I've done here on Plus and in other stuff over the past few months. That does a disservice to everyone. You don't deserve, not that I've been half-assing stuff, but you don't deserve less than my full engagement. The rest of the TSSC staff certainly doesn't deserve less than my full engagement because they work very hard at the content they produce. And it just felt like now was the right time to sort of start stepping back. And so it goes. Again, we have a lot more coming up on Plays and Plus over the next couple of months. We are going to cover SEGA's alternate panel announcement thing in April, whatever form that takes in its entirety. We will, of course, be there for that. We're playing Sonic Adventure 2 in a couple weeks. Obviously, that's going to be huge. And we may, depending on my exact timing of when I really step back, there's going to be potentially more stuff on Plays in between Adventure 2 and Greatest Hits Week. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll get a little creative with what we do. So, and happy 60th anniversary SEGA. That's right. Look at that. So that was. Thank you for my little enduring my little rant there. That's been on my mind for a long time. It's been in the works for a while, and it is now out there. So we will. Feels birthday man. We will address this all on the site tomorrow, I think. What we will I'll put up something, just letting people know that TSSZ Plus is probably going away soon, but don't disengage with us yet, because we have so much more cool stuff coming, and we're really going to try to send the service off with a bang. So that is it. Bluebler, you have good ethics. It is really nice to see you care about TSSZ. You know what? You always want to leave something in a better place than you found it, and, I could stick around and sort of play with you guys and sort of just stream whenever I feel like it, but that's just not really how I am comfortable doing things, especially if I'm not actually into the material anymore. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love the Sonic franchise, I always will. That's never gonna change, but my passion for creating the content around it has changed, and you're gonna find that happens in your life. I mean, hobbies and interests and passions evolve over time. If they don't, then you're not evolving over time, in a sense. And there's a great quote from Doctor Who, I think in Matt Smith's final episode. It's something like, we all change. When you think about it, we're all different people all through our lives, and that's okay, that's good. You've got to keep moving so long as you remember all the people that you used to be. And I don't... I'm gonna get a little emotional if I keep this up. Well, we'll have a proper mushy send-off sometime in the future, but I think that's true. And inevitably, your focus is going to change as you change as a person. That's how it works. That's how it should work. As you sort of explore the world and find yourself in different ways. And that's where I'm at. Every few years you I've, at least, sort of had the opportunity to take stock of where I'm at, make some big decisions, and sort of ensure that I feel like I'm on the right trajectory. And, again, given everything that's going on, especially prior to all the pandemic madness, I would travel a lot. Work is really demanding, but I love my job. I really do. My family lives a couple hours away from me, and I visit them frequently, so that's a lot of time spent nurturing those relationships and staying close to them. Visiting friends, sort of developing myself, that all, it helps to sort of put all that in perspective every once in a while and make sure that your priorities are where they should be. And because life is short, and it really is, when you think about it, you owe it to yourself to pursue everything or anything that you find makes you really passionate and fired up. You owe it to yourself to never stop pursuing the things that make you eager to jump out of bed in the morning. At this point, it's just not making Sonic content for me, and it just seems like the right time in my life to sort of pump the brakes on that. Lenobre, I'm happy to have met you and happy to consider you for that. Is so nice, guys. Jesus! Same. You are a friend as well, and I'm happy that you've stuck around this long and continue to enjoy our silly little streams here. It means a lot that all of you are here and have been here for some time, engaging with all our stuff. It's been great to produce all this stuff. That's really what kept me going, because I feel like if I didn't have Plus to work on, I probably would have left a lot sooner, if I'm being honest. But this really gave me something interesting to sink my teeth into and get really passionate about, because I love streaming. I love producing live content. I love that sort of almost TV feel of it. You'll know we experimented with something called like TSSZ TV in the past, where it literally was just like a TV channel you could watch, and it was great. So I love the Plus initiative. I love being able to give all that to you. I love putting my stupid mug up on camera once a week, most of the time, sometimes, to do all this, and I'm really glad that all of you have contributed to that in any way. Lenobre, I think I still owe you a code for something. I gotta look back at Twitter and see. So anyway, there we are, folks. Those are our big announcements for the evening. Thanks for sticking around. In case you missed it or you're tuning in late, the next big playthrough here on TSSZ Plus is TSSZ Plays Sonic Adventure 2. It's going to be huge. It's going to be amazing. I know you're going to love it. That's coming April 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings for time in your zone, and we'll have fun with that, I'm sure. And then after that, at some point in the future, probably around May or June, we're looking at Greatest Hits Week, where we're going to sort of recap and go back to some of what I think are our most distinctive streams here on Plays. Episode 1 is going to be a doubleheader between Sonic Colors and Sonic Heroes. Sonic Colors because I love it, and Sonic Heroes because I think you loved watching me play it. At least I hope. We had a lot of fun with that one. Or you did. Episode 2 is going to be a very drunken episode of Blue Sphere, so if you like creating hard stages for me to play and watching me just get bombed on camera, then that's definitely the good one. And then episode 3, the finale of Greatest Hits Weekend, the series finale of TSSZ Plays. We're going back to the very beginning with TSSZ Plays Sonic Unleashed on the 360, like just the same way we did it back in 2016. So that's how it's going to go. Get excited, folks. Lots of fun stuff coming up. I'm not putting my foot off the throttle until we are done here. And again, I just really want to stress that I'm not running away tomorrow. I still will contribute to TSSZ in sort of like a special correspondence role, just not as often as I do now, and probably just for select special events. We're still working all that out. Again, if you are just tuning in, I am leaving TSSZ by like May or June and transitioning into more of a special correspondent role. At least leaving my day-to-day stuff. And TSSZ Plus will unfortunately probably shut down by the end of the year because of us not really having the content to support it anymore and not wanting to compete with other established Sonic community streamers whose community and reach far outpaces ours. They deserve to have that audience without us sort of cutting into it. So there we are. Whoa, that was a lot for today, I think. So there we go. We will have a stream next week, but astute people looking at the calendar will notice that that's April Fool's Day, so maybe there will be something interesting there. We'll see. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for all the nice notes. It's really nice to hear your thoughts on all this stuff. Thanks for tuning in. This has been TSSZ Plus and TSSZ Plays, the Sonic Advance Trilogy recap thing. Back next week with April Fool's stuff, and then Adventure 2 begins after that. I'm Lou. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you back here real soon.